Five, four, three, two, one. I'm John Miglash for the Wisconsin DMA and the International Society for Strategic Marketing. Well, let's start with some fun. Let's get over here to the Cartoonito commercial, and this is mostly just toddlers having fun. Cartoonito is a children's cartoon network, but it doesn't have much to do with this. So let's get going.
Every great leader starts somewhere. Everyone who's ever innovated, inspired, or done the impossible. Everyone who's ever changed the world began as a child. A wild, weird, wonderful child. Stands to reason the next wave of history makers are already out there. All they need is a place to start. Cartoonito. Start here.
And that's that. And I just thought that was fun. Nice basic stuff. Nothing too flashy, nothing crazy. And so now let's get over to Tom Ritson and see what he's got to say. Okay, the shiny new NFT syndrome. Today's cartoon. Before we talk about, before we need to, sorry, I can't even read it. Before we talk about how we need to stay focused on our business fundamentals, let's come up with some ideas for NFTs. And I forget what NFT even stands for, net fungible tokens or something like that. And it means that it's really connected to the blockchain, where the whole point of the blockchain was invented so that if you had a Word document and you wanted to make sure that it didn't change, that you could guarantee this is the final document, like for a legal case or something, without making a copy of it and faxing it to somebody. That's what blockchain was basically designed for. And it had a whole network of computers that all got a copy, essentially, and also got a code that was like an encryption number that was based on the number of characters and such in the document. And so that way, if anybody changed it, those two wouldn't match up the same, and you'd have to change all the other computers. And once you and other documents would be put in after, so you can't just change it out of order and stuff like that. It's sort of like that. I'm doing a terrible job probably for most of you, but the point is that it's something that doesn't change. So about a year ago or maybe two, Scott Adams, who does the Dilbert, did an NFT of a particular actual drawing. He draws them digitally on his tablet, so there's no printout or watercolored gel like you'd have with old Disney cartoons. They actually sell the artwork, and I knew someone who collected those gels. They're called, so they would lift them up and move them. You lift them up and then you move the character across, keeping the background and foreground the same. But there is none in digital artwork. But this assures you of the authenticity of it. So I have a revolver and I needed a holster for it. And so I was looking at holsters on eBay, and I found a holster that would fit it more or less. Didn't fit the greatest, but anyway, it was a nice looking holster. But it also claimed to be owned by the there were two Lone Rangers, and I forget the names of the guys, but one guy did about 300 shows or something. The other guy did about 150. So it wasn't insignificant and certainly not trivial, but it wasn't the main guy that I remembered. But so I asked my wife, can I buy this for my birthday or something? And she said, sure. So now I have the Lone Ranger. I have a holster owned by the original TV actor who played the Lone Ranger. And More, I think, was one of them, and this is the other one. So anyway, along with the holster came these documents, which I have scanned and recorded, and they testify to the authenticity of this holster. Now, you know, are the documents authentic? There's no document authenticating the documents that authenticate the holster. So, I mean, but you can trust it or not trust it. And it wasn't particularly that much more expensive than a regular holster. So I just got a kick out of the whole thing. But that is the idea of NFTs. And so now marketers are perennially excited about the next shiny new thing. Okay. And and of course, it's always okay to experiment with the shiny new things that come along. We talked last week about the metaverse and how the idea is not to throw all your money into there, but maybe it is to tiptoe in there, get some help, and maybe put a little money in it and see if anything measurable can happen, which I doubt. And what is fringe today could be mainstream tomorrow, but experimentation can lead to distraction. And the dynamic of bandwagons like this can create urgency without understanding or benefit, I would add. Brands uh, add brands add NFT project to their marketing plans as if a brand dropping an NFT is valuable and newsworthy just because they did it. Vulture's Rebecca Alter reminded everyone recently most NFTs are about as valuable as a Coke bottle cap, that QR code that sends you to a dead link to download an MP3 file. Okay, one of the more comedic moments in brands trying to engage with the NFT community happened last month when Pepsi dropped an NFT collection called the Pepsi Mic Drop. And Pepsi, Meta, and Budweiser were all slapping each other on the back, but probably no one else did. The ever colorful Mark Ritson, in a piece that I didn't actually feature because it seemed so obvious I didn't care, but he said NFTs are just marketing's latest idiot magnet, which is probably true. So he wrote, of course, this sudden popularity should surprise no one. There's something in the DNA of marketers that makes them especially vulnerable to this kind of bull caca. NFTs are exactly the kind of obscure tactical catnip that our industry simply cannot resist. Equal parts childish game, obscure tech, and viral sensation, you can trace the current obsession with NFTs back to their ancestors, the VR and the Bitcoin and the 3D printing and Pokemon and Second Life and so forth. In truth, there may be value in NFTs way, way down the track when the metaverse takes hold, but it's a long way off, and I'd raise a more important concern, one that applied equally to 3D printing and Bitcoin and Pokemon Go and all the other things we've been collectively lost our disciplinary caca about during the last two decades. What does any of this have to do with marketing? So here's some of the previous cartoons. Marketing predictions. This will be all about AI, yes, and podcasts and nano influencers and social commerce and blockchain and voice search and live video. Shouldn't we talk about strategy first? Anyway, this will also be the year of VR. And of course, for me, I go back to personalization and one-to-one marketing and database marketing and direct marketing and big data, and the internet will change everything and all that. So anyway, I just wanted to pop over to this actual study that NFTs, here's tangible assets customers are most likely to buy. Sports memorabilia. My pastor today talked about wanting a Ray Nitschke jersey, signed Ray Nitschke jersey for $5,000. Artwork or photography, music or film related. But the early NFTs, it's only 9%. So There's really not that many people that have much to say about it. Okay, so anyway, on that note, on the note of uh, unnecessary stuff, I thought this was great from TechCrunch, and I don't use TechCrunch very often. How about a dumb car? They started out, today's cars are dumb where they should be smart and smart where they should be dumb. Enough already. Make a car that's pretty much all dumb and watch it sell. And I've been saying that to my wife for years. We were listening to a book on tape thing, audio book, I guess you'd call it in the modern parlance. There isn't tape anymore. And I was moving my hands and I touched a button on my Lexus LS, and all of a sudden some other music came up. Some other, it switched from the Bluetooth interface to the CD interface, and I said I have no idea how to get back to it, except by hitting the buttons over here. The buttons. Mine still has buttons, but it does have a touch screen for almost everything, which I hate. And I've been saying this, since I don't know, since I started getting cars that had the touch screens in them. And he goes into just beautiful examples of speedometers changing color that become unreadable as you get closer to the speed limit. The fan speed and direction. When I first got in the car, the fans were going, or you could make them go like this. It's like, just leave them alone. They wouldn't, but anyway, I finally found out how to turn that feature off. And designed by committee and approved by someone who doesn't have to use it. My father, who was a mechanical engineer, said every engineer should be forced to live with the machinery that they design. But that's really the case. It turns out Teslas, apparently, with missed payments, drive themselves to be impounded. They don't even have, I'm not even sure they need a person in it. They might just pull out of your driveway and go drive away. Go drive back to the dealership. I don't know. Yeah, GPS in the car. I remember when we first got GPSs in the car and they don't work and they aren't updated. And why would you use them now? Now they're out of date. And your phone is 10 times better than that. Plus, it has voice commands that actually sometimes work. But high-end model cars are going back to knobs and dials for the premium feel. Okay, so what are his recommendations? One is no screens whatsoever. I'm all for that. Yeah, that sounds good. He says, it turns out on one of these articles I read that it takes more, maybe, and this is the one, it takes more computer power it takes more energy, takes more battery power to run the computer trying to build a self-driving car than it does to power the wheels, which is really something. Okay, no GPS or data or hidden cameras also makes your vehicle feel more private. What an idea, right? And harder to hack. An aux input. I said that today. We were trying to make this thing work with the Bluetooth, and one of our phones had accessed the Bluetooth, and the other phone couldn't find it because the first phone, which I turned off, wouldn't let me, turned it right back on again without telling me. And I know I looked right at it and I saw it said Bluetooth off, and then somehow it turned itself back on. The only thing a car should have is a volume dial. And how about the climate controls? And I've been saying this for years. I had cars back in the day that had a slider from cold to hot. Okay, cold to hot, and a blower that had like 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, and then there was another knob that gave you, down by your feet or out by the vent or whatever. And I think all you need is 2 knobs and a slider, but that's not what you get. And my car, when the temperature hits a certain point, will turn it to recirculate and fog up the windows. So it's like, who thinks this up? I never want to recirculate, even in the dead of winter or the hottest of summer. Just blow the real air in. I want more air. I used to drive cars that had, let's just say, fumes. And my father said, well, if your car is filling up with exhaust fumes, just keep blowing in fresh air. Keep that vent knob down by your feet open. We used to have knobs. You pull the knob and it would blow fresh air into your cab there, and that would pretty much save you from getting asphyxiated if you had the kind of car I did. So anyway, it's an excellent article about why sometimes our analytical stack may give us things we're not really that interested in. Like, how about an ordinary needle gauges speed, fuel, oil temperature instead of digital? Digital is insanely difficult to read. The difference between 69 and 70 perceptually is huge, right? All the digits are different, but speed wise, it's just doesn't matter at all, right? And really, literally doesn't matter. And so, uh, you know, anybody that thinks that digital is everything might want to think about speedometers, where it clearly isn't. And then he kind of waffles on this and says, maybe we should have self-braking and other stuff like that. But I'm not, I'm okay with cutting out the computers altogether for the big EMP that's coming soon from the sun. Now I don't have to worry about terrorists. Have a great day. Like and share. Your friends will know you're smart. I'm John Miglosh. Bye-bye.